the origin of the word Palestine, the tribes of Fils.
No, he said that.
Philist. You said Philist means died.
Yes, I know.
No.
Money.
Just let me talk. Okay. The tribes of Philist immigrated to Palestine after the Canaanites. Okay. And they settled in Palestine, and we are originated from these tribes. So when you want to say that this is Palestine, that means it refers to the Philist tribes. Okay. Does any of you, does anyone know what's the oldest city in the world?
Abiha?
Jericho? No. Okay.
Yeah, Jericho.
No, Jericho.
Jericho.
How old is it? When was it built?
2000 BC?
No. No. Okay. Jericho was built 9,600 BC. It was the oldest city, and it's like the oldest city ever. It was before any other city was built. Okay. Talking about Palestine, does anyone know what's that? That's Kufiyya. Does anyone know what does it resemble? Why is it like that?
No.
Yeah?
It's the cages. It's the cages like around.
These tribes called Civic. We call it either Civic or Hatta or Kufiyya. Civic means like the wires that are put to siege the Palestinians by the Israelis. It was originally used by the farmers in Palestine. When they work, they get sweaty, they go get hot, and they want to wipe it. So they use the Hatta. Okay, can you? No, the one before. Okay. This is in Arabic. I'm gonna demonstrate in English. Okay. This one talks about the historical Palestine from 2000 BC to 2000 currently. The first one, the historical Palestine, was by the Canaanites. You know the Canaanites, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Canaan? Okay. After that, there was the New Kingdom, which was like somehow Hebrew, somehow not Hebrew, but it was somehow an ancient culture and an ancient religion that wasn't like doesn't exist right now. And then the first, which is us, our origins, and the Hebrews. They came together, but the first came like about 200 or 300 years before them. And then it went on to reach the British Mandate, which I'm going to explain in the next slide. In the next slide. Go back. Okay. As you see, this is the original map of Palestine, the historical Palestine. Now, this is not really the original map because the original map contains parts of Jordan and small parts of Sinai in Egypt. So the original map extends from around here, about this, and somehow over here. In 1897, okay, the World Zionist Organization was founded by Theodor Herzl. I'm not going to talk a lot about that because Rula will be talking. But the main thing is that they made a treaty, they made a discussion and an argument, and they agreed that we will have a national home for the Israelis, for the Zionists, for the Jews in Palestine. Was like you get a country without people to a people without a country, which is like totally false, because we are people, we have a country, the country is ours. So they made the treaty and they decided to steal Palestine from the Palestinians. In 1970s, under the Balfour Declaration, the British Mandate, they decided to occupy Palestine. Actually, in 1916, France and the UK decided to have a secret treaty to divide the Arab lands in the Middle East. So Palestine, the piece of the cake that was Palestine was for the British Mandate. In 1917, they did the Balfour Declaration, which announced that Palestine is for the Israelis. So step by step, they started immigrating Israelis and Jews to Palestine to become Israel. So in 1946, this map illustrates the area of Palestine. 90%, though this is 90% for Palestine, and the green ones are about 10% for the Jews, like a self-government, autonomous government. Okay, but in 1947, the U.S. petition plan, the UN General Assembly initiates the plan to separate Western Palestinians into two states. Okay, this is the bad thing. The bad thing is that the UN decided to have Palestine divided into two states. One for Israelis and one for Palestinians. The bad thing is that the Israelis were formed like about 10% of the Palestinian population. And they give them 55% of the area of Palestine and 45% to Palestinians. But they were greedy, as we know, most of them, and as we know historically, they are greedy and they like to steal. So in 1948 to 49, the Arab-Israeli war started because the British Mandate left Palestine after several attacks by the Jews on the British. So they left Palestine, and in the second day that they left Palestine, the Israeli government, the Israelis and the Israeli the Israeli gangs announced the state of Israel, and they have a shadow government that went on and do the massacres, and that area was called the Nakba, which about 700,000 Palestinians were immigrated from Palestine to West Bank and Gaza. In 1956 was the Suez Crisis. The Suez Crisis was when the three countries, which is France, UK, and Israel, they were attacking Egypt. And the main problem was that Gaza was part of Egypt, was under the Egyptian control. Back then, the West Bank was under the Jordanian control. So a lot of bad stuff happened and ended up with Israel occupying more parts of Palestine and controlling more parts of Palestine. Okay? 1967 was the next one, was the 6 Days War, where Israel completed the control all over Palestine. They haven't left anything. They even occupied Gaza and the West Bank. Okay? And Sinai. Yeah, true. Then, in 1964, the PLO was formed back in Tunisia, in Beirut, in several countries. But they weren't allowed to enter Palestine till 1994, Oslo Agreement. 1993 was the Oslo Agreement, and they entered Palestine in 1994. Oslo Agreement was a breaking point for us as Palestinians. For me, I think it was a bad agreement because the leaders sold Palestine to Israel. We only have like small pieces left of Palestine, like you get the chunk. I mean, this isn't a country. Like you don't have a country where half of it is over here and the other half is over here. Like, would you do a bridge to connect two countries? I mean, the bad thing is that when we announced the state of Palestine in 2014, yeah, when Abu Mazen, I think this is outrageous for Abu Mazen, our president, our current president, to decide such a thing for us. He decided to announce the state of Palestine, which is, I think, like a bad thing, because I don't agree that this is the state of Palestine. This isn't the state of Palestine, because currently, after Israel left Gaza in 2005, they left, like, this is Gaza. Gaza stayed the same. They don't enter Gaza because it's a small area with a huge number of population, so they can't control the land. The main problem is in the West Bank. West Bank is like a major area, a big size, with small population, so they can't control lands. So they told us that they would give us this area, but in the fact they give us these areas, and in these areas you have like many areas because you have the zillion checkpoints, you have the roads that connect the settlements, that kills the farmers' lands. They kill them and squeeze them until they reach the point where they can't take it anymore. Thank you.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, I'm going to discuss 4 essential points. The first one is regional and social dialects. What does that mean? So I'll first give you like an introduction about that, so you will be able to understand what I'm going to discuss. So we all know that Arabic is divided into Standard Arabic and Colloquial Arabic. So the Standard Arabic, you can find the sound qa, which is one of the Arabic alphabet letters. But when you try to pronounce it in Colloquial Arabic, it doesn't sound like qa. It sounds like a, ka, ga, and qa sometimes in Palestine. So I'm going now to divide the state of Palestine into 4 areas according to this social and regional and social dialects. So the south, the east of Palestine, with the Gaza Strip, was known historically as the Ga area. The middle of Palestine, which is the West Bank, was known historically as the Ka area. For the coastal area of Palestine, was known historically as the A area, and we can also say that Jerusalem also was known historically as the A area. For the west of Palestine, it is known as the Qa area, as the Qa area. But you will notice that I have used the past tense while I'm talking, because now the situation is not like that. After the catastrophe of 28, everything had changed. So because the people was immigrated from this point to West Bank, and they all the immigrants were like in West Bank and Gaza Strip. So you will find the 4 variants in each, West Bank and Gaza Strip. So we all know, so Qa and its variants, it's like it is identified as our identity marker. So you will be able to recognize this person from where. Is he from Gaza? Is he from West Bank? Is he from the coastal areas? And we also have like some, we can divide these regional and social dialects to upper class and low class. So for us in Palestine, we consider that the A sound is the upper, it belongs to the people who are from the upper class, and the Ka, Ga sound comes under the A sound. So the A sound is for the upper class. So this is the first point. The second point is language shift in the occupied Palestine communities. So it is a really big issue. So after the catastrophe of 48, there are some Palestinians, actually they are minorities who didn't leave their villages, cities and towns. They stayed in their homes. They were like maintaining their homeland. They fight for their rights to be in their homes. So they stayed in their homes. So in this case, those Palestinians, we call them the Arabs of 48. They live a really hard time because they was like banned from everything. They are a minority in a majority. The majority which was the Israeli communities. So they were like living with them, but they are actually not living with them. There was a whole discrimination between the 2 groups. So between the era of 48 till 67, those minority was banned from the freedom of movement, from all the rights that you can imagine. But after the war of 67, they acknowledged them and give them the Israeli IDs and the Israeli passports, and they started to treat them as civilians or citizens of the Israeli communities, but they actually don't. They treat them in a bad way. and they're also not equal, as they also will say. They don't live in equal conditions. There is a huge discrimination between both of them. So, what I mean by language shift here. So these people, this minority, was forced to learn Hebrew in order to follow the power authority, because they are like a minority in a majority. So in order to survive in life, in order to secure, in order to have a better conditions, in order to have better job opportunities, they would like start to shift from Arabic to Hebrew in order to have to survive in life. So those who speak only Arabic do not have, they are from the lowest class, do not have jobs, they can't join universities, they can't join schools. So this is a big issue, because Palestinians in these communities are like bilingual now. So they use the two languages, Hebrew and Arabic. Arabic, they don't use it in official occasions or transactions. They only use it in home with the friends, relatives, and cousins. That's it. But they 100% use Hebrew in everywhere. So the second thing that I was going to discuss, that the situation of Arabic language in the occupied Palestine, which is what I was saying, that the Arabic in these communities is in a bad way. It is in a process of loss, that it might it doesn't dead, but it might like we just need 2 or 3 generations to be dead. So, and that is a big problem, because Arabic is our identity. We are Palestinians, we are Arabs, and Arabic is like it's like our identity. So, yeah, so it's like a big issue that I consider it is like a conflict, because they will like belongs to Israel more than Palestine. They don't speak Arabic. They most of the time speak Hebrew. I actually have an example of this. There is a village which called Al-Baqa. This village is divided into 2 parts. One of the parts is under the control of Israeli occupation. The other part is under the control of Palestinian government. So you will find that in the part that is under the control of Israeli occupation, you find the additional language is Hebrew. But the part which is under the control of Palestinian government, you'll find that the additional language is English. So they are living in the same place, but they have different style lives. They had different conditions. So this is an example of this point. The history of Hebrew language. So I want just to discuss that this like an evidence that Israel is not exist. It's not a state. It's like they created from like it's like a plan, and they created. So the first thing that I want to say is the first Zionist Congress was held by and it was in 1896. This was the first, and it is called as Basel Conference. This was as the first meeting for them in order to start in order to accomplish or to establish the state of Palestine, the state of Israel on the Palestinian territories. So what they did do actually, there's one of the Zionist leaders say that from now on, and he said that in the conference, from now on I will start using Hebrew as my native speaker in order, and he even live in European. In Europe, he is even live in Europe. So he said that from now on I will start use the Hebrew language. But for the Theodor Herzl, he said also that we need just 15 years to make a homeland for Jews on the Palestinian territories. So what they did do, they start to illegal immigration from all over the world to immigrate to the Palestine. The second thing, what they did do, they took the classic Hebrew and they transform it to be more easier for those who come from all over the world to maintain it. So they like insert some Arabic, English, French, German words to the Hebrew language, so in order to be easier for those who come over from all over the world to understand and to maintain in an easy way. So this is the history of Hebrew language. And what else I want to say? That it is like a huge evidence that that Israel as a state, it does not exist for us, and it is like a huge organized plan.
Pain in the ass.
Yeah, that's it. Actually, these are my 4 points that I was just discussed, and that's it.
Who doesn't know Gaza? It's like the place where like every day and after there's a war or like invasion or something. So this is Gaza. I know everyone knows it. I'm taking this part, I'm talking about the 3 wars, the nowadays life in Gaza, and some small things about the city. I don't know why I'm taking this. I usually get emotional when talking about the wars, but it's like I started my life reading Edward Said and Noam Chomsky and all these, so it's like politics is part of my life, but at the same time, I cannot get used to it. So, the first war at Gaza was like, we start count this stuff like first, second, and third. After the Israelis left Gaza in 2006, they started to do something like wars in Gaza rather than like invasions or something, because they're out of the country and there was like kind of the city, and there was kind of conflicts between them and Hamas, like or the Palestinian resistance in general. And the first war in Gaza started in 2008, 27 December, and ended January 18, 2009. And it was like 21 days more, 735 Palestinians, including civilians and militants from various groups, were killed, and 8,308 This isn't the first war. It was like a conflict between these 2 parties, and civilians was of course part of it. They, as you see, I don't know. So there. Okay. There was like kind of let me see rockets fired from the Palestinian side, and there was like bombardments all the time from the Israeli side. And there was like many homes and houses were destroyed. Many people like started living in shelters, and there was like kind of attacking like the civil areas where like the majority of the people lives. For example, Rafah and Khan Younis and all these places. Let me I want to jump to this point. Like, it is legal for the Palestinian resistance to work or to defend the Palestinians in Gaza. Do you know anything about that? Is it legal to
Absolutely.
fire rockets?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's legal.
Yeah.
So the legitimacy of the second one, this one, the legitimacy of the Palestinian resistance. Now, if Israel has the right to defend itself by launching airstrikes that have destroyed Palestinian homes and schools in the last 3 wars, then surely Palestinians have the right to defend themselves. And there is like, according to the global research, Palestinians have a legitimate right under international law and Geneva conventions to defend themselves against this illegal occupation. Now you can check this website for further information. So like the rocket firing is totally legal and we can like kind of defend ourselves. And there is no like any kind of comparison between the casualties or the sacrifice in both sides. There's any kind of comparison. We're here like 1,000 killed, 1,000 wounded, and it's like I'm also sorry for those who die in both sides, but at the same time there's like kind of tens or not more like from the other side. So there is a huge gap between this kind of conflict. It's not even a conflict. I call it oppression, not a war or something. Let's move to the second war. It was kind of a piece of cake for the Gazans because it was like 6 days, and it started like the Israeli side targeted Ahmed Jabari. He's the chef of Hamas at the Gaza Strip, and they killed him. He was killed, and this is how the war started. The Palestinian resistance started to like fire rockets. Sorry. Retaliate, okay, to this kind of just targeting Ahmed Jabari. And there was like during all these 6 days, 158 Palestinians have been killed, of which like 102 were civilians, 55 militants, and 1 was policeman. 30 children and 13 women were among the killed. So as you see, it's civilians most of the time. They always say that we want to stop the rocket thing and we want to protect our country from those groups and all this stuff. But it's not about these groups. It's not about Hamas. It's about the civilians all the time. And I call it's part of the colonial project of Israel to the whole Palestine. Let's move to the third war. This is like the biggest one. That was last year. And we are so close to the first anniversary of the third war. And I'm telling you this by numbers, because numbers can talk better. Okay, this is of course a photo from the last war. This is at Shijaiya. There was a massacre. It's close to my place. I was like I saw the people running away from their houses to the center of the city, and I heard the bombardment all night, and I couldn't sleep. We were like more than 30 at my house because my house was kind of away from the conflicts, but I used to hear it, of course. And there was a lot of children in the house. So 2,139 Palestinians were killed during this war. And Palestinian children killed, like there were, including them, of course, 490 children were killed. From the Israeli side, Israeli soldiers killed were like 64, the civilians were 6, the children were 1. Palestinians wounded, they were 11,000 Palestinian wounded. Palestinian children wounded, there were 3,000, and the Gaza region displaced up to 500,000 people. Now you can like walk on the street of Gaza and see all these people like living in shelters. They are moving their stuff everywhere all the time from this place to that place because there is no like shelters here is not shelters. They are schools. When talking about the Israeli side and the people who are living there, they have shelters like under the ground, and it's totally protected and all this stuff. But for us, they were the UN schools, and there's no like any kind of living conditions there. There was like many diseases spread. Children were like living in a hell because it was like kind of Ramadan. It was a very hot weather last year, and it's something like that. Not living in your house is kind of really hard condition to afford. So that was the 51 days war. It's not only this, but these are the figures and the numbers at the end of it. Let's move to the other slide. Now, this is kind of like lovely thing I'm really proud of because the Palestinian community in Gaza, they are kind of very cooperated and they really love each other. Everyone helps everyone, and those people who are moving from place to place, you can never find a person sleeping in the street. There is always someone who's opening his house for anyone who doesn't have a house anymore. And this is not only about like, we have Christians in Gaza. The majority are Muslims, but we have also Christians. One of my best friends, he's Christian, and I love him so much. He's Hanna. And we have this kind of like, we totally live in kind of peace. There is no any problem with like being Muslim or Christian. We don't ask about this stuff in Gaza Strip. This is in the Greek Orthodox Church in Gaza. It was like, they sheltered people, Muslim people. They were fleeing in the war to, they couldn't find shelters because the schools were totally like full. One classroom, it is like 5 to 4 meters, and there were like 4 or 5 families in that classroom. So the schools were really full, and they couldn't, like in the UN, afford all this huge number of people. So the church like sheltered them, and that was a great like example that I'm really proud of to show you today. And let's move to the other one. This is like another, let's say, side of Gaza. It's a beautiful city. There is a sea there, and the faces of people are like kind of smiling, even though we are facing all these problems all the time. These are like photos from Gaza. This is a very beautiful photo. I like this. Photographer, his name is Ibrahim Faraj, and he likes like taking such photos in Gaza. This is the center of the city, and this is the sea. This is a family breaking their fast in the middle of the rubble of their house. You can find people living under the rubble of their house because they found it kind of offensive to go and ask other people to shelter them. And of course, maybe you see, if you are following the news, the UN now refused to shelter anyone in the schools. So people are now like trying to find alternatives all the time. So that was kind of alternative for this family. They are having their breakfast in the middle of the rubble. They are the same. This is Al Rafah, this is Al Shaya, close to my house.